Join ForumIAS Academy, trusted by hundreds of toppers, including IAS Rank 1 Shruti Sharma.
Hello friends, this is Vijay. Welcome to ForumIAS Hindu Daily. In our today's news discussion, we are going to discuss these 5 topics in the slide. The first one is related to the time to put a price on carbon emission. Then the second one, it is about the why India should cut down its salt intake. So this topic is very interesting. And the third one is about the PM Swanidhi. So here we will be discussing about the provisions of the scheme. And the fourth one is about the Philippines allotment some 4 more military bases to US troops. So this topic acquires huge significance from the perspective of prelims. Here we will be discussing the map. And the last one, oil surges as OPEC plus surprise output cut shake the markets. So this is the last one. Here we will be discussing some basic details about the OPEC plus. It will be very helpful for the upcoming prelims. And the significance had been given for each and every topic. Kindly make a note out of it. And before getting into the topic, let us have a look on the articles what we are going to discuss today. So this is the first one. It came in the editorial page. So it is related to the carbon emissions. So from the Mains perspective, it is highly significant because here we can find some valuable inputs for our answer writing. So let us discuss about it in very detail. Then the second one, why India should cut down on its salt intake. Then the third one, it is for Swanidhi. Then the fourth one is about the Philippines allotment of 4 military bases to US troops. Then this is the last one, oil surges as OPEC plus surprise output cut shake markets. So this is the last article of the day. And kindly go through the article. And guys, actually today in global arena, several countries have been taking initiatives under the guidance of UN to tackle the climate change. Okay, so UN is the leading organization here. We all well known that due to climate change, sea level is increasing, glaciers are retreating, then rain patterns are getting altered, and in these days, guys, you may notice summer is becoming more scorchy. In winter also, we are feeling the extremes. But guys, in 1992 itself, the initiatives were kickstarted under UNCED, UN Convention on Environment and Development. Okay, so carbon tax is the outcome of UNCED 1992. It is just based on polluter pay principle. This is the principle behind the carbon tax. Simply, we can put it like, if you pollute, you will be fined. That's it, guys. So government may impose, example, let us take 1,000 rupees penalty per ton. And if you are emitting 1,000 tons means you will be ending up in paying 10 lakh rupees. So the system is purely based on how much emission you are making through your process. So the industry, it may be a paper mill, or it may be sugar industry, or garments, or petroleum refineries, or any other industries. Here, guys, industry and process, they are not the parameter. Rather, they are imposing fine on the emission alone. That's it. So if emission is high means you will be paying higher amount. If it is low means you will be paying lower amount. That's it. So how can the carbon tax help in reducing the air pollution? So here, the first one, by imposing the carbon tax, the consumption will be reduced. As the tax makes using dirty fuels more expensive, it encourages business and individuals to reduce the consumption and increase energy efficiency. So it is a normal human tendency. If the price is very high means we will be thinking thrice to utilize it, right? So this is the same principle they are using here. And the second one, increasing the use of alternative energy sources. Guys, actually the alternative energy such as solar, hydro, wind are costlier than the fossil fuel energy, right? The carbon tax on fossil fuel, it will make the alternative energy competitive to the fossil fuels. So in other ways we can take, if we are imposing the carbon tax means, then the price of the fossil fuel become very high and it will be comparatively price in comparatively higher than the renewable energy price. So in that situation people will be opting the renewable energy options. Then the third one about the revenue. So carbon tax offers both social and economic benefits. It increases the revenue while simultaneously promoting objectives of the climate change policy. So the revenue can be used for socioeconomic purposes like health and education, and it can also thrust the efforts to reduce the pollution. So that's how the revenue will, the government will use the revenue for its forward measures. Then the fourth one, it is about the air quality. You might have known fossil fuels are very well known for emitting sulfur dioxide, nitrogen dioxide. So if we are imposing the carbon tax means it will be reducing the consumption. Meanwhile, it will also lead to the lower emissions. So the carbon tax, it charges a fee based on the amount of carbon present in the fuel. So to reduce the fee, they will be using a very low amount of fuel, right? So this will help to protect the environment and it will ensure good air quality in cities, especially like Delhi and Kanpur, because these days we are witnessing very poor air quality index in these cities. So if we are coming up with carbon tax means we can reduce the air pollution like that we can take. And the last one, meet emission targets. As carbon tax is a step towards helping India to meet their voluntary target, what we had given under the INDC. In 2016, we submitted the INDC under the Paris Agreement. So, imposing the carbon tax will aid India to achieve its emission targets. Anyway, according to the biennial update report, almost 23% of the target we already achieved. So, the remaining emissions and all we will be cut off due to the government proactive measures. So this is what you should know. Then now let us dive into the article. Okay, these are all the extra stuffs I actually explained to you. So from here onwards, the topic have been starting. Here there are some problems are there, guys. The first one, we need to know how we can ensure this tax is imposed. Okay. Then the second one, after imposition of tax, how we know the processing cost of the industry will be increased. Okay, what will be the impact, guys? First, actually it will affect the domestic consumer, right? Because the industries, they will transfer the tax to their customer base and they will be end up in paying higher prices to their products. So then the last, you might have known, the customers will be a sufferers. So if the same is applicable to export segment means, the export competitiveness of the country will come down because it will reduce the price competitiveness. So our competitors will be benefited. Obviously, you all might have known in these days we are having massive imports, and if we are losing the export market means, then obviously the forex reserves will be drained because already we are having huge import of goods. So these are the few things you should know. And here in the article, they actually discussed about three ways of carbon pricing. The first one, it is about the carbon tax. Just before I already explained you about the carbon tax, how it is levying. Now let us discuss about the emission trading system, because this system, it have been prevailing in European Union and in China. Actually, this is based on a cap and trade mechanism. To incentive firms to reduce their emissions, a government sets a cap on the maximum level of emissions and they create permits or allowances for each unit of emissions allowed under the cap. Emitting firms must obtain and they surrender a permit for each unit of their emissions. They can obtain permits from the government organizations or through any trading platforms. So the government may choose to give the permits away for free or to auction them. Okay, so these are the few basics you should know about the emission trading system. Let us take few examples, guys. And here we can take some entities like ITC, then Reliance, then Adani Enterprises. For example, we are taking these companies. To each organization, government will provide some quotas of emission like 500 tons for ITC and 600 for Reliance and 700 for Adani Enterprises. Now, if someone hadn't utilized their quota, means they can give their quota to other companies to match their discrepancy in that entity. Because, example, if Reliance have been emitting some 850 tons, means then they meanwhile ITC they saved their 300 units of quota, means then Reliance can purchase these 300 quota for the money. In return, ITC will be getting the money, Reliance will be getting the credits. Okay, so this is the basic principle behind the emission trading system. Now let us discuss about the import tariff. Here, European Union is thinking of proposing the import tariff. So let us discuss about the import tariff mechanism. Here in EU, due to very costly labor, most of the engineered goods are getting imported from China and India. Okay, so the products may be heavy engineering equipments, mobile gadgets, or anything. So, but if high emission is involved in the manufacturing process of these imported good, means, guys, here EU also will impose additional tax on importing it. Anyway, in the source country, they might or might not have the carbon tax systems. But if the goods are getting imported into EU, means they will be imposing some additional tax. So this is what they are claiming. And there are three major ways are there, right? So here with respect to the carbon tax, pricing here with respect to the pricing the carbon, some three mechanisms are there. As I already told you, carbon tax, it will be imposed on the amount of carbon in the fuel, and the emission trading system, it is based on the cap and trade mechanism. Carbon tax, it is based on the polluter pay principle. And the last one is about the import tariff. It is whenever the products which involved high carbon emissions getting imported into the European Union territory, the goods will be imposed with some additional tax. So these are the few things you should know. Now in India, do we have any taxes like these stuffs? Not so far. Only for coal imports alone, government have been levying the taxes on the amount of carbon. Here, countries are not forced to pay tax based on their emissions. Here is the problem, guys. The article also, they clearly explained that big emitters in the world like India, China, United States, European Union, they should come together to impose a unified tax system. So till that, ecological landscape will face devastation from anthropogenic activities. Now we should know why government is not imposing any taxes. As I already told you, if government is levying taxes, means especially the carbon taxes, means the end consumers will be suffered. So in India, we are having huge population in upper middle class and in middle class bracket. Poverty is also still persisting in the post pandemic timeline. Therefore, like India, almost all the developing countries are against the imposition of the carbon tax. So if we are imposing the taxes, means import goods from China will be cheaper and it will hurt our economical interest. So the author says that India need to find a way. He insisting that if India imposing taxes, means it will force companies to reduce emissions. Okay. So here they had given that some 46 countries, they are having a carbon pricing mechanism. Although it covers only 30% of the GHG emissions, and the average price of the carbon tax is $6. Okay, $6, and a fraction of estimated harm from the pollution. So here only 30% of the country, 30% of the global emission gas is getting taxed. The IMF, they actually proposed that the pricing floors for carbon tax like $75, $50, and $25 a ton of carbon for the United States, China, and India. So these are the few things they had given in the paper. The author actually, he says that if India imposing taxes, means it will force the companies to reduce the emissions, as I already told you. Secondly, it will give the money to government to expand its renewable energy baskets. So here, apart from levying the producers, the incoming reserves will aid the government to achieve the government's ambitions. So we can take clues from other countries. Example, in Japan, they are imposing 2.65 per ton, okay, 2.65 USD per ton of CO2 emission. Meanwhile, in Denmark, they are imposing $165 per ton. Actually, they set this pricing for 2030, okay. So Denmark is having a higher band of taxes, but we know if we impose the tax means goods and services cost will be very high. Therefore, we will be losing to the competitors. So that's what the government is reluctant. Meanwhile, imports will also shoot up. As I already told you, Chinese goods will flow into the Indian economy in a large scale. And in the communication is important timeline, they stated that in the year of 2012, Australia, they imposed the tax, okay, the carbon tax. But within 2 years, they withdrawn it. Therefore, no developing economies, they want to escalate the living cost of its citizens. Even in India, the government thinking on the same line. So that's what they had given here. And but determined actions across all the big emitters, okay, like China, US, India, Russia, and Japan. Okay, these are all the big emitters. So if they are coming up with certain plan means it will pave the way to eliminate the global warming from this blue planet. So India as a responsible G20 president can kick forward this initiative. This is how the author have been concluding in this article. So with this note, let us move to the next article. Here is the second article for you. Why India should cut down on its salt intake. So this is very interesting, guys. Most of our teammates, even in my team, they will be having the disease what they are mentioning here. Here WHO actually they have been recommending 5 grams of less than 5 grams of salt intake every day. That is the safest. But according to the article, Indians are consuming 11 grams per day. Okay. So almost higher than double the time of what WHO have been recommending. And so actually, but you know guys, actually excessive sodium in blood is highly risky, not only for people aged above 40, but also for you and me. Let us see what are the diseases these salt eaters going to attract. In article, they had given that the hypertension, the heart diseases, and stroke. Guys, you know, if we are taking excessive sodium means it will increase the speed of blood in the arteries, veins, and other capillaries. It will rupture the wall of these veins. So if the people, if they are having a prolonged hypertension means then their capillaries in their eyes will be first affected. So it is a first sign of devastation in the human mechanism. Not only it will end here, guys, it will take a hefty toll throughout the impairment of your vital organs. Guys, let us take one example. You know about chronic kidney failure, right? So chronic kidney failure is CKC. So which means renal failure, okay? So our kidney is composed of multiple filters. So they will filter your blood throughout the day and night. So anyway, you will be having only 5 liters of blood, but these 5 liters of blood, it will get filtered multiple times in the renal filters. So there actually the toxic waste and all will be eliminated from the body, and the kidney, it will keep the body functions optimal. Meanwhile, kidneys are very vital and they are also producing RBC. Okay. Apart from the bone marrow, kidneys also producing RBC and they are also filtering the dead RBC cells. Okay. So these dead RBC cells, they will be eliminated in the filtering process. However, in the case of renal failure, all these filters will be decimated and their waste removal process will be halted. So the patient, they will die in course of time even if he opted dialysis programs. So the dialysis program, it may prolong your life for some time, but it may not be a permanent solution for the chronic kidney failures. Okay, what is the role of sodium here? Excessive sodium in blood, as I already told you, it will enhance the speed of the blood in the veins, capillaries, arteries, etc. and all. So this speed, it will hurt the wall of all vital organs, and in the course of the time, their functions will be altered. It is also applicable for kidney too. So once your kidney is finished off means, then automatically it will impair other vital organs like liver, okay, heart, etc. So by accumulating waste in your body. So recently the WHO, they published the global report on sodium intake reduction. So it shows that the progress making by 194 partner countries reducing the sodium intake by 30% by 2025. So here they actually have given some scores in the range of 1 to 4. So 1 refers to the least interested countries and 4 refers the countries who are taking massive initiatives in cutting down the sodium intake among their population. So India is standing with a score of 2. So India's score is 2. Okay. 2 is the score of India. Under the reducing sodium intake, the author have been discussing that no one actually cautious about sodium intake. Okay. So even government also giving negligible presence to this issue. Once we cut down the palm oil, sugar and sodium intake means, especially to the WHO recommended level means, 45% of India's health budget will be reduced. So actually these three things, they have been cumulatively propagating the diabetic load and hypertension load among the Indian masses. Guys, if we cut 1 gram of sodium means, which is 2.5 gram equivalent of salt, okay, in 2.5 gram salt there will be 1 gram of sodium. So if we are cutting 1 gram of sodium means, it will lead to the drop of 5 mm reduction in the systolic blood pressure for individuals aged 55. So you might have known the role played by the sodium in the circulatory system of human beings. Secondly, we know elevated BP is critical factor for the cardiovascular disease. You might have known, right? So elevated BP, it will add huge stress to the pumping mechanisms of the heart. So guys, try to avoid as much as salt possible. You know, while eating pizza, then fried chickens in KFC, then Lay's, Kurkure, and other packed and frozen foods, you should think of sodium intake because inherently we are taking lot of sodium. So it have been impacting the government exchequer in a decisive scale. More the people not able to work, more the loss to the government. Okay. And more the people suffering with the diseases like heart failure, hypertension, diabetes, more it will affect the government exchequer in the form of massive health budgets. So that's what we need to take certain changes here. So here actually it is some fact. The staggering economic impact of cardiovascular disease on low and middle income countries is estimated at 3.7 trillion between 2011 and 2025 due to premature mortality and disability. That's what I already explained you. More the disease load means more the government will be affected. So under the need to make changes, actually the author he discussed about why we need to cut down the sodium intake. First, the cardiovascular diseases. First, we need to eliminate the cardio diseases. Okay. Therefore, we need to reduce the sodium load. Second, NFHS data, they states that hypertension is more among the men aged 15 and above compared to the women in the same age group. Thirdly, Indian with BP readings of 130 to 139 are having huge risk of cardiovascular stroke and premature mortality. Fourthly, circulatory system diseases, they are accounting for 32%, okay, of all the documented deaths, with hypertension being a major factor. So these are all the few factors which have been insisting us to cut down the sodium intake in food. So this is what the author have been discussing there, and he also discussed about government initiatives. So various government initiatives are also taken forward. FSSA has implemented the Eat Right India movement. So actually, which strives to provide healthy nutrition to all citizens. They also launched Aaj Se Thoda Kam campaign. Okay. So actually, it have been creating awareness in this regard. This campaign is very important from the prelims perspective because they can give you the Aaj Se Thoda Kam and they can ask you regarding which the campaign is related to, like that they can ask you. So these are the few campaigns the government and the WHO agencies have been initiating. However, the salt intake in India is alarmingly very high. And in the conclusion part, they actually asked the government to go for a multi-pronged strategy with collaboration between the private agencies, states, and unions to combat the hypertension and other related risk factors. Okay, so this is what the author have been concluding the article. Now, with this note, let us move on to the next article. This is the third article. Just 9.3% of loans under PM Swanidhi given to vendors from minority communities. Guys, under PM Swanidhi scheme, government is providing collateral-free loans. So to street vendors, guys, as we know, street vendors are vulnerable sections of the society. They shouldn't get into the grip of ruthless extortionist moneylenders. Moreover, they might not have strong collaterals to get the loans from financial institutions. So under the scheme, the government is providing collateral-free loan of 10,000 rupees with a subsequent loan of 20,000 and 50,000 with interest subvention of 7%. So the government have been providing loans with 7% interest subvention. But here the issue which came up in today's newspaper is almost only 9% of the benefits are from minority communities. Okay, so this is what they have been claiming according to the Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs report. So now let us discuss few basics about the PM Swanidhi scheme. The scheme actually it was announced as a part of economic stimulus to under Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan during the COVID-19 lockdown. Okay, so it has been implemented since 1st June of 2020 for providing affordable working capital loans to street vendors to resume their livelihoods. So at the time actually it had been affected by the COVID-19 lockdowns. So that's how the government came up with this scheme. A total of 13,403 vending zones have been identified and 42 lakh street vendors are to be provided benefits under the PM Swanidhi. So here the funding, it is a central sector scheme fully funded by Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs. And here there are certain objectives are there. The first one to facilitate the working capital loan, then to incentivize the regular repayment, because if they are prompt in repayment means they can expand their loan amount with interest subvention of 7%. So to reward digital transactions. So this is also one of the objective they had envisioned under the PM Swanidhi. Under the scheme, if the debtors pay on time, then other future loans can be expanded. So this is a big note here. And they can also avail the interest subvention. They can use this amount as working capital for their business too, or as a capital to kickstart their new businesses. Guys, you should know the difference between the centrally sponsored and central sector schemes. In centrally sponsored scheme, states too will do some contributions and the funding pattern will be in the form of 50s to 50 or 75s to 25. So in central sector scheme, the entire funding will be come from the central government and the implementation will be done by state agencies. So these are the few basics about the central sector and the centrally sponsored scheme. And with respect to the eligibility, the scheme is available for the beneficiaries belong to only those states and union territories which have notified rules and schemes under the Street Vendors Act. Okay, this act it came up in the year of 2014. So apart from that, the scheme is also available to all the street vendors engaged in vending in the urban areas. Earlier, the scheme was available to all street vendors engaged in vending. Actually, it was the time before the March 24. Okay, March 24 of 2020. So for each and every government scheme, you should know some very few basic facts. Firstly, you should know the ministry responsible for the implementation. Okay, first one is ministry. Second, agency responsible for implementation. Then objective. Okay, objective you should know. Then eligibility. So these are the few things you should know. Okay, now with this note, let us move into the next slide. Philippines allots 4 more military bases to US troops. So throughout the history, US small brother is Philippines that we know since historical times, right? So US also advocates for human rights and they will be making the statements against the colonialism and all. But US is also ruled over one nation, and till today it is having some clout over one nation apart from Japan, that is Philippines. So this topic is purely map based topic. Now let us discuss about the US new base in South China Sea, and this is a South China Sea, and here the Philippines is locating, and actually Philippines had allotted some 4 bases to United States, and in the map you can see the Cagayan, right? So Cagayan is here, and it is in the vicinity of Taiwan. So with the capture of with the occupation of these bases, now US will effectively handle the aggression of China in South China Sea. So these are all the other 3 bases: Isabella, Zambales, and Palawan. So here Sulu Sea is there, and in the east of Philippine Sea is there. Okay, so here Philippine Sea will be there, and here South China Sea will be there. Okay, so these are the few things you should know. And with this note, let us discuss about the India's presence in Indo-Pacific region, because in our yesterday's discussion we discussed about the Indo-Pacific politics. So in today, let us discuss about the presence of India in Indian Ocean region. In Iran, we are having Chabahar port, and in Oman, we are having permissions to use the Dukum, and in Seychelles, we are having Assumption Island. It is still pending. Okay, so there we can do patrolling and training and all, but it is still pending. The approval from the Seychelles government is still pending. And Mauritius, we are having some naval establishments there, and in Madagascar also we are having some naval communications, and we can use the Madagascar port for Indian Navy. And in Reunion Island, France had given the permission to use the Reunion Island military base, so India can make use of it. And Digo Gracia, you might have known, it is very popular, and US and UK are having presence there, and they are permitting Indian Navy to utilize the capabilities of the base, like refueling, then overhauling, repairing, and all. Indian military forces can do in Digo Gracia. Then in Maldives, we are having provision of patrol planes and helicopter training. So this is the agreement what we are having with Maldives. And in Andaman and Nicobar Island, it is a strategic base of India, and it actually have been helping India to control over the choke points in the Sunda Strait. Okay, this is the choke points, and with the presence in Andaman and Nicobar region, we can effectively handle any threats in the Sunda Straits. And Sri Lanka, we are having mutual coordination with Sri Lankan naval agencies. So therefore, we can utilize the patrolling along with the help of Sri Lankan naval agencies in the Indo-Pacific region. Then Cocos Island, it is there, but India doesn't have any presence there. In Myanmar, we are helping them to construct the Sitwe port. From there, actually, we are exporting weapons to the Myanmar hinterland. Then with Thailand, we are also doing joint patrol and naval training. And with Malaysia also, we are following the same. And apart from that, with Malaysia, we are also participating in the Air Force training. Singapore, in Singapore, actually, recently we got some special permissions to utilize the facilities in the that Changi port, I think. So there, actually, we are having some special provisions. Actually, Singapore had given to India. And with respect to Indonesia, we are carrying out joint patrol, and we can do the repairing of their fighter jets. Okay, so Australia, we are with Australia. Actually, we are having multiple joint exercises. Okay, and with the development of the Quad, India have been effectively participating with Australia to ensure the free and safe transit in the Indo-Pacific region. So with this note, let us move on to the next slide. Oil surge has OPEC plus surprise output cuts shake markets. Okay, here you no need to memorize the countries in the OPEC plus, just you need to know about the OPEC countries, because in OPEC plus almost 23 countries are there. UPSC, they won't ask if the numbers are very high, means therefore you should memorize the countries who are locating in the OPEC organization. So actually they denied the price cuts, so therefore it has been expected that the oil prices will further soar up. So Saudi Arabia and other OPEC plus oil producers on Sunday, they announced that further oil output cuts of around 1.16 billion barrels per day. So these countries, they actually wanted to keep the prices above $70 per barrel. Okay, right now it is in the range of 85 barrel. I think last night I have seen the barrel price of oil was around some 85 per barrel. So actually these countries, they want to keep up the price above the $70 because oil is the major source for these countries. So that's what, despite the demand, they actually want to keep the price in the upper circuit. So here the unhappiest customer in the market will be US. Okay, because US is the uh, he actually purchasing US have been purchasing oil from various countries apart from its own shale oil production. And the most happiest customer will be Russia, because the Ukraine Russia crisis have been going on. So increased dollar inflow, it will build the Russia's forex. So it will also fuel the Russian war machines who are participating in the Ukraine war. So these are the few things you should know. And these are all the countries who are a part of OPEC: Ecuador and Venezuela from South America, and Equatorial Guinea and Gabon and Angola, Congo, Nigeria, Algeria, Libya. So these are the countries from the African landscape. And from Arabian Peninsula, we are having Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, UAE, Qatar. From Asian landscape, we are having Iraq and Iran. So these are the few things you should know about the OPEC. And here is the brief description about the OPEC. So the organization of OPEC, petroleum and exporting countries, is a permanent intergovernmental organization. So created at the Baghdad conference in the 1960. So Baghdad conference is related to the OPEC organization. Okay, Baghdad conference. So it is in Iraq. So actually this conference was held by Iran, Iraq, Kuwait, Saudi Arabia and Venezuela. So this organization, it aims to manage the supply of oil in an effort to set the prices of oil in the world market in order to avoid the fluctuations that might affect the economies of both the producing and purchasing countries. So the OPEC, it headquartered in Vienna. Vienna is in Austria. So OPEC membership, it is open to any country that is a substantial exporter of oil and which shares the ideals of the organization. So Gabon, it terminated its membership in the year of 1995. However, it actually rejoined the organization in the 2016. So this is an acronym for the OPEC countries. So Gabon, Algeria, UAE, Republic of Congo, Angola, and Equatorial Guinea, Venezuela, Iraq, Libya, Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, Iran, and Nigeria. Gabon are all able skinned. So this is the acronym for OPEC countries. And with this note, let us move on to our prelims discussion part. These are the few previous prelims questions I had taken for you. Which of the following statements are correct regarding the general difference between the plant and animal cell? This is very familiar for us since 6th standard or 5th standard. We will be studying the plant and animal cells till the completion of the higher secondary. So the first statement they had given that plant cells have cellulose cell walls while animal cells don't. Okay, so this is a right statement. Plant cells alone will be having a cell wall and animal cells, they don't have any cell wall. Okay, and the second statement, plant cells do not have plasma membrane unlike animal cells which do. Okay, so both the cells, they will be having a plasma membrane. So the statement 2 is wrong. Then the third one, mature plant cells have one large vacuole while animal cell has many small vacuoles. This is true because these vacuoles, they will be acting as a suicide sacs of the cells. So in plant cells, there will be one large vacuole. Okay, but in animal cells, there will be multiple small vacuoles. So this is factually right. 1 and 3 are right. So the answer option C is the right one. And now let us see the next question. This is a concept oriented question. This question actually it is in the NCERT science. So I don't know the standard of this science book, but actually I have came across this topic. In a pressure cooker, the temperature at which the food is cooked depends mainly upon which of the following. So the area of the hole in the lid, the second one, the temperature of the flame, and the weight of the lid. So here the temperature they have been asking. So we need to calculate the boiling temperature of water, and we need to know the amount of water which have been presenting in the vessel. So these are the three factors. All three are right. So the area of the hole means actually the evaporation will be very high. So therefore it will also play a role. And the temperature is directly proportional to the vapor creation. So therefore this is also true. And the weight of the lid means if the lid is very high means, if the weight of the lid is very high means, it can occupy a large amount of steam. So it will also enhance the process of cooking the food. Okay, so all the three statements are right. Answer option D is the right one for question number 2. And this is the question which asked in 2021 prelims. Triclosan is considered harmful when exposed to higher levels for a long time, is most likely present in which of the following. So these are the 4 statements they had given. If you are using some Sensodyne or any other toothpaste means, in the ingredient part you can find a triclosan. So triclosan is a toiletry product, and it is getting used it is actually used as a cleaning agent, okay, in detergents, toothpaste, then other toiletry products. So even in Harpic actually they are using the triclosan. So direct answer D is the right one for the question number 3. So that's it, friends. With this note, let us wind up this discussion. Thank you for your patience. Let me catch you in another news discussion tomorrow. Bye.